Hello ladies and gentlemen. So today me and Ollie have already gone to get the trailer and I just put on these braces here just to give the body a little bit of strength because it's proper wibbly wobbly. Also I noticed that on these Triumphs they have these like strengthening triangles to give it a bit more rigidity, and the top spot welds had come loose or popped off on both sides, so I just threw one of these self-drilling, self-tapping screws here in there, and now it has a little bit of strength. So we're just going to go and get all the bits from the storage, the bonnet and the other three wings, and I already got these bits ready to go. So we're going to back the trailer up, lift this in, drop it off, and then pick up the Nova. Exciting stuff. Let's go and see what Ollie's up to, shall we? Speak of the devil, look who's calling. Hello, Oliver. Okay, so there's the trailer. Ollie's moved his Malibu out. We still have snow, as you can quite clearly see. So now we need to get the other bits down. Ollie!
Jamie!
I'm here with the camera.
You talking to yourself again?
Yeah, always. Nobody else would talk to me.
I understand that.
Right, so we just got the wings down, and as you can clearly see, I don't think these front wings are worth saving. All these panels are readily available, and this is the same at the top. It's like Swiss cheese, isn't it, Ollie? I like Swiss cheese though. The rear one is as good as the other side, so that's a bonus, and also the bonnet looks in pretty good shape. So I think we'll leave these front wings.
Put them on the side.
Put them on the side.
Put them right there.
Put them right there.
And then we can move them later, because we still have to get some parts off.
Yeah. And I don't think this wing mirror is going back on.
No.
Maybe put it on one of your minis.
Nah.
No. Right, let's get on it.
Here, so I'll take the front.
I'll take it in the back.
I know you will.
It's not very good. I had my fingers stuck in a hole.
Ah. Isn't it better on the sides like that?
Yeah, just on these.
Oh, that was close.
Oh. Fucking hell.
Not far enough?
So we're pretty much all loaded up. Just throwing a couple of cheeky little straps on there, stop it from sliding around. And we're almost ready to get going.
Well, it depends if there's a car there.
So here we are at the Sandblasters. We're here to pick the Nova up and drop off the Triumph. We just had a look at the Nova and it looks really good.
Bye-bye.
So the only thing I didn't get done was the doors stripped of the handles, the glass, the trim and everything like that. So I need to do that. And also then I need to take engine, gearbox, suspension, everything, every nut and bolt off of this. So I better get started. Right, let's have a walk around of this chassis then. So, as you can see, independent rear suspension. It's like a just a separate chassis from the body, so that enables you to lift the body completely off of the chassis. We have this straight 6, I don't know how many litres this is, 2.5? Don't remember. So we have this engine to come out along with the gearbox, and then we have all the suspension components. So independent front, independent rear, rear end needs to come off, exhaust, etc, etc. Also have the roof over here that somebody has at some stage in its life stood on. I don't know if you can see the dents in it, but I also need to take up the glass and the headliner from that. And then over here we have the doors, so trim off, handles off, locks off, etc. Glass out, of course. So over here we need to go through all of this stuff. This is all the stuff that's been stripped off the body. And we need to decide what needs to be plated, what needs to be powder coated, what needs to be ordered. So there's lots to do. So once this, like I said, once this chassis has been completely stripped, then we'll bring the Nova in and assess what needs to be done to that. We also need to order lots of panels for the Triumph and the Nova. So I think I'm going to start with the doors. Okay, to take these handles off, I just wedged this open with the screwdriver, and I didn't have a drift skinny enough, but there's actually a pin that you have to knock out. There's actually a pin you have to knock out, so I used this little screwdriver and it popped out nice and easy. So now I'll remove this, hopefully that just pops off. Do the same with the other one. So there we have it, doors are stripped, went okay. Quite surprising how many bits are in a door. So they're ready to go to the blasters. We'll probably take those at the time we pick up the body. Right, me and Ollie are back in the workshop after doing a little mini for sale video. What's that? Oh, Triumph. Yeah, there we go.
That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. So we're going to start stripping this mofo.
Yeah.
So I already took off the prop shaft today. And so I guess, what, Ollie? Let's start taking the engine out?
Take the front beam out and then the engine. Cut out the exhaust first and then see if everything's loose.
Yeah, I mean the front pipe looks like it's new, maybe worth saving that, but maybe we want to just cut the pipes off here.
But if we're going to go for a stainless steel,
you want to go stainless steel? Tell me what you want.
Well, this car is going to be close to original, but I'm going to do it with the engine and maybe the brakes, and therefore a stainless steel exhaust wouldn't be bad.
So you're thinking about putting something like a V8 or something?
No.
No? Oh no, sorry.
I'll soup up the engine, but keep it original.
Okay, I like your thinking.
Do we need to reserve a table or are we going after?
I don't know, what do you think? I think we might need to reserve a table.
Well, no.
Ollie's just talking about lunch, he's always talking about lunch.
Yeah, right.
So Ollie's just stripping the headliner out of this so we can send the doors, or not send them, we'll take them in the van to the blasters when we pick up the body for this. And I've just removed this cross brace bar from the front here. It goes around the front, add a bit of extra strength to the front end, and it gives us more access when we remove the engine. So now I'll start removing the gearbox mount at the rear here. We'll strap the engine lift to it, and then we can start taking these engine mounts off and lift the whole thing out. Hopefully, that's the plan. Okie dokie. So I just went and got the engine crane, and me and Ollie were discussing yesterday that there's no reason that we can't just take it out from the side here. So I just lifted the lift a little bit, throw a few straps around here, and then see if we can lift it out. Hopefully the crane will go high enough. So engine out, there we go. Easy as winking. So this is going to be completely rebuilt. And a few little upgrades, right Ollie?
Yeah.
And
Standard 150 brake horsepower.
which isn't bad really for a car this size.
Yeah, but maybe a bit more. 180, 200.
That'd be nice. We're going to do just an exhaust upgrade and some shiny bits. That'll give you another 30 horse.
Yeah, especially the shiny bits. That's gonna do it. And K&N filter.
K&N filter, don't forget the filters. So look at this. So what's next? Maybe put this on stands, if we can get stands on the lift somehow. And then all this suspension stuff's got to come off. We're hoping that the frame doesn't have many, or if any, rusty holes that need to be repaired, so we're going to get it blasted and not powder coated until we've seen how solid it is. Right, me and Ollie are back from lunch. We have put the chassis up on stands, taken the wheels off, and I've just gone around, cleaned all the nuts that I want to take off with a wire brush and given it another squirt with WD-40. So Ollie's going to work on the back end, I'm going to work on the front end. So that's the plan. Right, same as what I did on the Chevrolet Nova is I heated a couple of spots up on the springs, and what that does is it takes the tension out of the spring, because if I undid everything now, there's so much pressure on the spring that it'll just fly out and catch someone in the head. Maybe Ollie's head, because it's a lot bigger than mine. You can see it's still glowing there, so I've just heated it in a few points and it's taken a lot of the tension off. The spring is actually a bit twisted now, look. So to remove the spring I just need to undo these 4 bolts under here, or 6 bolts maybe, and then this whole plate comes down, so that will further take some tension out, so we'll see. Okie dokie, right, I thought I should mention that you should remove the shock absorber before heating the spring, because this obviously fits inside the center of the spring there, so when you're heating up the spring you don't want to heat up the shock, because these are often either filled with gas or with oil, so just bear that in mind. So that was just 4 bolts on the bottom, and then there was the top of the shock came through the top there with a nut on it. So easy as that. Okay, some good progress. I just put those wheels to put a little bit of weight on the front because it wants to flip up because there's more weight on the back now. So as you can see, I've got all the front wishbones off. This ball joint kept spinning around, so rather than mess around, I just cut it off because they'll be replaced. Same with the hoses, not going to use those again, so cut them off. So what do we have? So I took them off as complete units because then it's a lot easier to disassemble them when they're on a table like this. And pretty simple, these are the lower legs and this is the top piece. So there was just 4 bolts for the top piece that bolted in there. And then the lower piece is bolted into here, and they have these shims in there, so we'll make a note where those shims go. Okay, next up I'm going to remove this steering rack. So there's only held on There's like these U-bolts similar to what you use on an exhaust, and there's just 4 nuts to take off, and then this whole unit will lift off. So that's pretty simple stuff there. Back in the workshop Monday morning. So today the plan is to get the rest of this chassis stripped, load it up in the van and take it to the blasters and sort through all the stuff we have here. What needs to go in storage will go, what needs to be powder coated will be sent with this stuff. So Ollie's just in a meeting this morning, he's going to come and help after that. So hopefully we can get this all done, loaded up and maybe even taken there today, hopefully. Right, as you can see on the rear end of this Triumph TR6, you have this cast aluminium independent rear suspension, drum brakes on the back, you have the damper here, old-fashioned oil-filled damper, and then you have the rear diff with the drive shaft. So I'm going to start by taking off the damper, I think. Then this tiny little drive shaft, get the drum off, and then we can start taking the whole wishbone off. The rear springs are actually not under much tension at all, so I don't need to heat them up or put a clamp on them. I've gone over everything as usual with the WD-40. I'm going to go over a bit again because you can see it's all soaked in. And just start dismantling this whole thing, and I put some tyres on here just to keep the weight balance, because it's a bit of a seesaw. It will flip up without those on there. So I just unbolted the shock absorber or the damper, and the wishbone is now dropped down. You can see it's the drive shaft's resting against the chassis, and there's no tension in the spring, so it's safe to undo everything. I just need to pop this ball joint off to get the damper off. If you ever wondered why you need a spring and a damper, if you didn't have the damper, the car would just bounce all over the place, because when it compresses, the spring just wants to go back to its original state. So the damper just smooths everything out, and yeah, you soon know if your damper is not working properly, because the car just bounces all over the road. So the two go together, and if you get more complex into suspension setup, you can change the rebound rates and stuff like that. But on this, it's quite simple oil-filled damper on these old cars, and you can. And it's not a bad idea to upgrade these old cars to like a coilover type damper setup, where the damper sits inside the middle of the spring, similar to the front setup on this, which means you can do away with this big heavy old unit and have a little bit more adjustability, etc., because you can change ride height and stuff like that with coilovers, etc. So the next thing I did was undone the bolts that hold the drive shaft on, and that then dropped this further so I could just lift the spring out nice and easy. So the next thing I'm going to do is remove these 2 bolts, and then the whole thing will come off as one big unit, and then I can dismantle it on the table. It's a little bit easier than leaning over this. Yeah, so just those 2. Okay, so I actually undid the 4 nuts that were on the back of the chassis leg here and lifted the whole thing off in one big unit. And to note, these also have shims in here, so it's good to label these for when the car goes back together. Let's put it on the table now and take the rest apart. Okay, so I've just wrapped a bit of masking tape around these shims, and written their positions. So rear, right, left. I hope that makes sense when we come to put this together, but at least it's now on video to save any confusion. So I'll do the same for the front shims here. I'll label those up, and that will make assembly a lot easier. Okay, now looking at the rear diff. So it looks like it's just held in place by 4 nuts, and it has these rubber bushings in between, so it actually has welded bolts that go all the way through. So I just need to take these 4 nuts off and 2 at the front here, and that whole thing should drop out, hopefully. So there it is, out on the table. So just those 4 bolts, and as I said, there's these rubber bushings dampening the vibration. It's actually quite heavy. I had to manhandle it a little bit, but you know, tough as old boots. So there it is. So the only thing left to do now is take these brackets off, make a note of where the shims go, take all the brake and the fuel lines off. A couple of like bump stops need to come off. So just a few bits and pieces now, and on the front same again, the fuel brake hoses, they need to come off, and now this is ready to load into the van. Right, before I move on, I think it's time for a tool regroup. When I'm building cars, I think it's really important to maintain a tidy workshop and clean tools, etc. And I always, when I get to a certain stage, like to have a bit of a tidy up and clean up and everything before I move on, because you often have a lot of tools out that you needed for a previous job that you don't need for the next job, and it makes life a lot easier to find certain tools. I also like to keep them clean, and these what we call them cleaning cloths from Worth are amazing, and they smell good. I mean, look, I just cleaned 3 spanners. There's nothing more frustrating that if you go to do a clean job and you go to your tool chest and your tools are covered in shit. So this is good standard practice. Believe me, I'm a professional. Here we go. Ollie's in the workshop.
Ollie's in the workshop.
So
nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts. So Ollie's just going through all of these bits and pieces on the table, also dismantling all this stuff. We've got the box going on here for the powder coating. I've just put all bolts in where there is like captive nuts or welded on nuts. So when this goes to the powder coaters, we don't get powder coating in the threads, because then later when it comes back we're going to have to tap out all of these threads. So there's actually quite a lot of bolts that I've put back in just loosely. So this is ready to go, but we had a measure and it doesn't fit in the van. So luckily there's a roof rack on the van, so we're going to strap it to the roof, and Ollie's just going to call the blasters and see if we can take it tomorrow. So we're going to move this out, and then we're going to bring the Nova in. No. That's all right.
That's all right.
Maybe I shouldn't have moved the van.
That's your choice.
Careful of that. Should we take it like, then we can bring the Nova around?
Yeah, put it on the grass then.
Right, with a bit of a move around, we've just got the chassis outside, as you saw, ready to bring the freshly blasted Nova body back in. I've had a quick look around it, so I kind of know what's what, but I'll walk around with the camera and show you what surprises. There's a couple of surprises that I didn't expect, and yeah, well, let's get it in. Okay, next day, and I'm just ripping into these front suspension setup, dismantling everything, and we're collecting all the nuts and bolts that we're taking apart. We'll probably replace them all, but it's best to keep everything until, because you never know what you might need at the last minute. If you're wondering how to prepare stuff before it's taken to the blasters and powder coating place, threads like this, they normally, and it's worth asking, but they normally put like a sleeve over these so they don't get painted. And so for instance these as well, and anything that has a thread in it like this for instance, they often put like a rubber bung in there to stop paint getting on the threads. But I mean, we've just thrown these bolts in here just to be sure, and they're kind of sacrificial. We'll just remove them when they come back. Just makes things a lot easier when you're reassembling, if you don't have to remove the powder coating from the threads or recut the threads in something like this. So it's worth asking people at the blasters. One thing to bear in mind as well is a lot of these are assembled with nylock nuts, and what that means is, here's a new one, you actually have a ring of nylon in there, and when you tighten it up, that nylon stops it from undoing. So it's best not to reuse a nylock, because the thread gets cut into that nylon, and yeah, so once you've used them, it's best not to reuse them. So we'll throw all the nylocks in the trash. Also, the same rule applies to these split washers or spring washers, whatever you want to call them. I don't tend to reuse these because they lose their springiness, and this works similar to the nylock, that once there's tension on there, it stops the nut from coming, or bolt coming loose. And the same rule also applies to split pins. Once you bend them, it weakens the point where you've bent it, so if you rebend it, it's likely to snap or not be as strong, and you don't want these coming out, because that's what they're for. Also, another method used to stop nuts and bolts coming undone is that they use these tabs like this, and then you bend over the edge of the tab, and that kind of locks into the side of the nut or the bolt, and stops it from coming undone. Okay, that's one side disassembled, and these discs actually look really good. There's hardly any wear on there, so I think we could probably reuse these. You can even put them on a lathe and just re-skim them just to take the top surface off, but and then repaint the centers. But then again, you know, if we check to see how much new ones are, then it's probably not even worth the effort. So here we are. To start again. So here we are, and Ollie's in the house, wrenching away like a good one. How's it going, Oz?
Yeah, it's going good. Slow.
So I haven't filmed much today because we've just been trying to knock all of this stuff out as quick as possible, because time is of the essence, as they say. So I've basically been dismantling the rear suspension, taking all the bearings out of the shafts. Ollie's just now taken the rear diff partly apart. We're not sure if we're going to disassemble it or we're just going to send it to the guy who's going to rebuild the engine and the rear end as it is, and the gearbox. So I mean, we're pretty much done, aren't we, Ollie?
Yeah.
All this stuff's going to go in the storage. We've loaded the van with all the stuff that's going to be powder coated. So we're nearly done on the Triumph as far as we can. We've got to go through the book and order all the stuff. And it's a long process. Very long process. I mean, if you look at this box here, this is all the nuts and bolts, or some of the nuts and bolts, because we have another box here. it's kind of endless, but that's what happens when you build these old cars. Oh, hi. I'm just editing the video that you've just watched. So this is the last in the series for now with the TR6, or it's up to date now, because I'm back in Finland, as you may or may not know if you've watched some of my previous videos. This was actually shot just over 3 weeks ago. The body's still not back from the blasters, and we need to order all the panels, etc., for us to continue with the Triumph. So I think to order them, it takes quite a few weeks for them to arrive. So it will be happening. It's all coming. So I'll be posting obviously more videos on my Volkswagens, my Land Rover, etc. in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for those. And again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button so you don't miss a video. It will notify you when a new one is posted. And yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Cheers.